But actually, I don't think that's the main reason why we've not had so many investments from the United States. I think that the main reason was that the culture is different in regards to they're not well educated on the fact what is a walnut tree, how much it can produce, the longevity of it. While, for example, in Serbia, as I said, Serbia has a very strong agricultural history. Whoever goes to outside of the city, everyone has a couple of trees planted in their backyard.
Are you tired of trying to keep ahead in the rat race, only to have so much of your hard-earned money going to the tax collector? Equity doesn't pay the bills. Retirement savings don't pay you now, and there are only 24 hours in a day to work. The only solution is passive income that pays you 24/7 now, not 40 years from now. From vetted investment opportunities to tax saving strategies, let John guide you through all the confusion and take control of your financial life in pursuit of financial freedom. So sit back, relax, and welcome to the Wealth and Freedom Nexus.
Are you tired of gambling your hard-earned savings with the casinos of Wall Street? Don't you wish you could generate passive cash flow from tangible assets that produce proven in-demand products? Our friends at AgroNostros allow passive investors to participate alongside them in their sustainable agricultural projects. So now you can caffeinate your cash flow with the second most traded commodity in the world after oil, coffee, and sweeten up your returns with high-end artisanal chocolate. Diversify your portfolio and participate in coffee and cacao farms in Panama that are turnkey, managed for you, with farming, processing, and product sales all done for you. And you impact the lives of subsistence farmers by helping provide housing and education through their socially sustainable programs. To find out more, go to wealthandfreedomnexus.com/coffee. That's wealthandfreedomnexus.com/coffee.
Taxes are your biggest expense. The best way to reduce your burden is real estate. Increase your income with amazing returns and reduce your taxable income with real estate write-offs. As an employee with a high salary, you're devastated by taxes. Lighten your burden with real estate tax incentives. You can offset your income with a W-2 job and from capital gains. Freedom Family Investments is the experienced partner you've been looking for. Our Real Estate Insider Fund is the vehicle. This fund invests in real estate projects that make an impact, and you can join us with as little as $50,000. Insiders get preferred returns of 10 to 12%. This means you get paid first. Insiders enjoy cash flow on a quarterly basis, and the tax benefits are life-changing. Join the Freedom Family and become a real estate insider. Start on your path to financial freedom through passive income. Text FAMILY to 66866. That's family to 66866. This is not a solicitation. Please text regarding this opportunity for complete details. This is for accredited investors only. Hey there, John Rickarn again, your host, as always, of the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast. Now, if you have not hit that subscribe button, be sure to hit that subscribe button now. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, hit the bell and subscribe so you never miss a video or an upcoming event or anything else that I have coming down the pipeline. As always, obviously, you can follow my social handles at WFreedomNexus on Instagram and Twitter as well. So today's topic is actually a little interesting, and I think a lot of you will enjoy this, as there's a pretty low bar for entry for this investment, and you do not need to be accredited. Try to stay away from having investments showcased on this podcast for only accredited investors. Sometimes there's just no way around it, and sometimes they've switched to, yeah, we used to offer a 506B, now we only do 506C, we only accept accredited investors. So I try to stick with investments that anyone can invest in. And it's kind of funny, I actually just got asked this the other day, and I probably get asked at least once a week. It's like, John, where do you find all these investments? Where do you find these speakers? How do you come up with these topics for your podcast and everything? And I always joke, especially since I live here in Minnesota, I don't hunt, I don't fish, I could care less about sports. And I think golf is the second most pointless game on the planet. So I need something to occupy my time. So I read a lot, I watch a lot of videos, documentaries, listen to podcasts, go to networking events, just kind of try to expand my horizons, my network, and just try to learn something new every day. Now, I don't have an eidetic memory like Dr. Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. I don't remember, well, gee, I learned of this investment at 9:05 a.m. It was a sunny Thursday back in March of 2018. So I, don't exactly remember this. But I do think, or I'm pretty sure, that this investment that we'll go into today, I learned about it initially on Facebook and have been following for last almost 2 years now. Now, as a little teaser, this is another agricultural investment, and I've had a number of alternative investments, particular ag investments on this podcast, all of which I have personally worked with and invested in myself. We had ECI Development on episode 18 talking about teak plantations down in Panama and Nicaragua. We also had Paraguay Ag Invest. David Smith joined us for that one. That was back on episode 51, where we talked about orange and strawberry plantations down in Paraguay. And most recently, episode 73 with Darren Doyle of AgroNosotros, talking about coffee and cacao plantations down in Belize and Panama as well. Today's guest, he told me how to pronounce his last name, and I apologize. I know I'm going to slaughter it. So his first name is DAMJAN, but he just goes by Damien. It's a little bit more Americanized and easier to pronunciate, like he joked about. But he is the founder of the Walnut Fund. Now, as of this recording, just to let everyone know, I have not invested in this yet, primarily because at this time, they do not accept money from retirement accounts. But they will be offering it shortly. They're working with their legal team, and they're actually going to have a separate section on their website for investing, directly through self-directed retirement accounts. Now, at this point, I'm not sure if I will invest in this through my self-directed Roth IRA with Quest or invest in this outside of my retirement accounts. As luck would have it, I tend to, for whatever reason, I just tend to invest in agricultural parcel or investment every 2 years. That started with my very first one through Agronosotros. So it was a coffee parcel down in Panama, early 2020. So I guess it means if I keep the streak going, I probably should be investing in the Walnut Fund here next year in 2024, since I, for whatever reason, just seem to be investing in these agricultural parcels in 2-year increments. So with that, I hope you enjoyed today's interview. I hope you learned a number of things from this. I certainly did from this. We will get into today's interview with Damien after a word from one of our sponsors.
Hi everyone, Jeremy here. I do voiceover work for all kinds of projects. For example, do you need a voice for your phone greetings and call waiting services? Or a villain in your next tabletop role-playing game? How about a birthday message from someone who lives in a pineapple under the sea? These are just a few examples, and there are no limits to what you can use voiceover for. Feel free to stop on by my website or just send me an email in the description below. And let's create something amazing together.
Damien, thanks for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Hi, John. Thank you for inviting me.
You bet. Now, maybe for starters, for my listeners, I've had guests from all over the U.S. and various countries as well. But where are you joining us from, first of all?
So, John, I'm joining you from a small country in Eastern Europe. It's called Serbia.
Okay.
You might have heard about us. We are a very agricultural-based country. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, and here in the U.S., it's 9:00 in the morning Central Time. I'm just curious, what time is it over there?
It's 4 p.m. Serbian time.
4 p.m. Okay, so
Central European time. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, so at least I'm not getting you up at midnight or anything like that. So
No.
All right.
I would have rescheduled probably.
Understandable. So now with that, Damien, can you just give my listeners a brief background on yourself, first of all?
Sure. So my name is Damien Radojevic. I was born in Serbia. I lived in Canada for a very long time. I moved back when I was 15. That's why my English isn't so bad.
Okay.
By profession, I'm a civil engineer, but my hobby and passion has always been agriculture, and that's in part what led me to create the Walnut Fund.
Okay. Sounds good. And I know you said, yeah, obviously it's kind of been your passion, but did you just wake up one day and say, hey, I'll start a walnut fund, or how did that come about?
So it's a funny story actually. I have a small cabin near Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, and I wanted to plant some trees. And I was looking at what trees would be well suitable for the area. And at the same time, because I'm business oriented, I was thinking also about profit. So I bought 15, 20 walnut trees, walnut saplings that I wanted to plant.
Okay.
And I brought 5 or 6 of my friends to the cabin, and we started digging these holes. And I don't know if you've ever dug a hole for a tree, but it has to be a pretty big hole.
Sure.
So they hated me while they were doing it. And while they were digging, everyone pronounced that that tree that they were planting was not my tree. In essence, it was their tree. So then that gave me the idea of creating a online platform where everyone does have their own tree as part of a
Okay.
plantation. That's how
Gotcha.
it started.
Okay. Sounds good. I just kind of have to ask this out of curiosity. On my podcast, I've had, various agricultural, syndications or entities, if you will, from coffee to cacao, oranges, kind of the maybe simple stuff we want to call it. But why walnuts in general? Is there a big and or growing demand for them? And I kind of
Mhm.
ask personally because I don't care for walnuts, so I kind of have blinders on, like, well, I don't eat walnuts, I don't use walnuts, so I don't feel comfortable investing in this. But not to say, okay, what's the rest of the world's demand for it look like?
Understandable, understandable. Well, honestly, investing in walnuts is a very long term, but at the same time, a secure investment. So the walnut market in general is very stable.
Okay.
Farmers are reluctant to begin the process because it is very long term. The first yields that you see after planting a walnut tree are in the third, but most likely in the fourth year. Best practice is to let the tree bear fruit in the fourth year.
Okay.
Break even is in year 7 or year 8, depending on the market conditions and the development of the actual trees.
Okay.
So it's difficult for cultivators to begin the entire process, finance it until the 4th or the 8th year when they break even. So
Okay.
the supply is pretty stable. Demand, as these popular trends of healthy eating have begun to incline, the demand for walnuts has also been on an increase in the past 10 years. So market prices are on a rise. They're actually a pretty good hedge against inflation. So
Okay.
depending on what type of walnut you're selling, the price per kilogram or per pound, if we're talking US metrics, can be very profitable.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense. Now, with the Walnut Fund, I know you said you kind of got this idea when you were first asked to plant some trees in Belgrade, but how long has the company, well, one, how long has the company been in business? And you had mentioned, typically 4 years before you start to see returns. Have the, beginning investors or first investors started to see returns since you started the
Mhm.
company?
So I founded the company back in 2020.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I founded it in February of 2020. It was a
Oh, okay.
month
Right
before.
before March and everything. Just, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So that's when our first cycle of fundraising started, and it was
Okay.
actually very successful. For at that point in time, our website wasn't what it is today. It didn't look, it wasn't at the same level, and
Okay.
so we were seeing excellent results. Come March, what happened. Banks closed down, accounts
Mhm.
got blocked. We were using PayPal at the time to receive funds.
Wow.
PayPal PayPal just went dark. Yeah, they weren't answering any emails, any calls,
Oh,
anything.
geez.
So the only option we had at the time, the only button that was working in PayPal was refund, and that's what we did for all investors at the time. We
Okay.
apologized. We refunded everyone, and we delayed the project until the whole COVID crisis came to a close. In
Okay.
the meantime, we were very active. We did restructure the company, created a new website, new company interface. We actually opened our the holding company, or the headquarters is now in Croatia, while the sister company is in Serbia. It's due to legislative. It's easier to work from Croatia as it's in the European Union, while Serbia isn't. But they're
Okay.
neighboring countries, so it's very close for us to travel back and forth. The language is the same and so on. So yeah, a lot of things happened while we were dormant. Come last February, we launched a new investment cycle, and we were very, very successful. We had a lot of support from the local Serbian community, Croatian community, a lot of support from Spain, Germany, not so much as we'd expect from Canada and America. I think we found out why later on. But yeah, Europe was very active. So we raised around $800,000. We planted 5,000 trees this year.
Wow.
And so the first yields will be in the fourth vegetative cycle from this year. So this year is going to be the first vegetative cycle.
Okay.
And then 3 more years down the line, that's when investors are going to see the first yields come in.
Okay. So that'd be, haven't had enough coffee today. I think that'd be 2026 then, if that's correct. 3 years.
26, correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Correct.
Sounds good. All right. Now, I know you mentioned you planted 5,000 trees so far this year. How many total trees has the fund planted from the beginning? And is there a target, like you're hoping to plant X number by the end of 2023 here?
Mm-hmm. So one of the partners that we onboarded in the company, and at the same time our main consultant, has the oldest Chandler walnut plantation in Serbia. Chandler walnuts are sort of variety of walnuts. There are over 20 varieties of walnut trees that you can plant.
Interesting.
So he has a 10-hectare plantation. So if we count his and ours, it's in total a bit over 8,000 trees. Okay. And he as well does private consulting for other very large plantations in Serbia. So there's one 60-hectare plantation that he consults for. So that's another 18,000 trees. A couple smaller ones, 20 hectares, that's around 6,000, 7,000 trees. Okay. So myself, I don't come from an agricultural background. I don't know. I do know now much about the topic, but at the beginning, the only way to make this whole project feasible was to bring on people who knew what they were doing.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, I think Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, I think a lot of the great entrepreneurs, they just say, what's the old adage? If you're the smartest one in the room, you're part of the problem. You need to hire people smarter than you.
Yeah, true. It's the only way to succeed.
Exactly. So now just a quick math doing that in my head, obviously growing conditions, climate, everything can change, but rough numbers is it kind of like a target or a guideline of 1 hectare of farmland equals about 300 walnut trees? Would that be correct, or?
That's correct. So 1 hectare is around 300, a bit more, 305, 306 walnut trees, correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I just did the math quick in my head. I had no calculator or anything.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Now, the one thing I, first started looking at this, like, we spoke off camera. I think I first saw this on a Facebook ad, I want to say about 2 years ago. This is obviously after, like you said, with the whole COVID pandemic and everything. But as far as investing, or maybe I should start off with, is this an open to anyone, or do you have to be an accredited investor, minimum net worth, anything like that?
Mm-hmm. This is open to everyone.
Okay.
So the way we've structured the business, although it's called the Walnut Fund, it actually isn't a walnut fund. It's not a fund. It's
sure.
It's an LLC. Yeah, it's an LLC company. The way we've structured the contract for onboarding investors, we're not selling financial securities, and we don't have to be registered as a fund. Okay. With that said, we are able to invite clients from all over the world, accredited, non-accredited. Honestly, from the United States, we've maybe had the least amount of clients come in.
Really interesting.
Yeah, even from the United States, I think they're one of the only countries that are looking at if you're accredited or a non-accredited investor.
Sure.
From other parts of the world, what you do with your money is more of a personal question to you.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I think even in just talking with other investors and people in my network, there just seems to be maybe fear is the best word I can think of. Like, I invest in a lot of real estate, and people are even leery of, oh, geez, you invest in real estate in 5 different states. You invest, in Alabama and Arizona and stuff. It's like, well, yeah, but as long as you have the systems and the property managers, everything in place, it's not that much different than investing in your home turf. And likewise, I think if they look like, wow, I'm supposed to invest, all the way over in Europe. I've never been to Europe, and maybe there's just
Correct.
a scare tactic, so to speak, or fear of, what's going to happen. That's very far away. I don't know if maybe you've come across that or had maybe some of that feedback from the US investors or.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, and it's understandable seeing that this year was our first year that we erected a collective plantation.
Okay.
There was a lot of doubt, a lot of skepticism. Will we do what we promised to do? But actually, I don't think that's the main reason why we've not had so many investments from the United States. I think that the main reason was that the culture is different in regards to they're not well educated on the fact what is a walnut tree, how much it can produce, the longevity of it. While, for example, in Serbia, as I said, Serbia has a very strong agricultural history. When whoever goes to outside of the city, everyone has a couple of trees planted in their backyard.
Okay.
It's part of the culture.
Interesting.
It's maybe even consumed more. So it was easier to explain the entire business model to people.
Okay.
Although, with that said, America does have a very, very strong walnut industry. California is one of the biggest producers in the whole world.
Okay, gotcha. So,
and even the type of tree that we are planting originated from California. It was created in California.
Oh, interesting. So, yeah, hopefully now with the, I don't know if you keep track of much U.S. news, but a lot of California is under 7 feet of snow right now. So hopefully the walnut trees are faring okay.
It doesn't hurt them too much. They can withstand temperatures up to -30.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with obviously you said this investment is open to everyone. You don't have to be an accredited investor making $200,000-$300,000 a year, have a net worth of over $1 million. But, what's like a starting point or what's a minimum investment to get started? And can one invest through, say, their self-directed retirement funds as well?
Yeah, so that's one of the cool things about this opportunity. The barriers of entry are very low. So the minimum investment is one walnut tree.
Okay.
Last year was $150. This year we had to raise prices a bit. Everything got more expensive.
Yeah.
Honestly, with the economic situation, the price of fertilizer went up. The land prices went sky high.
Sure.
So minimum investment is one tree or $200. What that buys you essentially is one walnut tree that is supported until it begins to produce yield. So all costs that come from planting the tree to actually from procuring the land, planting the tree, buying the saplings, the fertilizer, the maintenance until year 4, where it becomes self-sustainable.
Okay.
Everything's covered with those $200.
Okay, sounds good. Now, just doing a quick math, and I know I had this question to you ahead of time. So the minimum investment now about $200, that gets you one tree. Seems like 90% of pro formas out there, they say, here's what happens if you invest $10,000. So $10,000 by my math gives you 50 trees. Let's just say someone, invests $10,000, has 50 trees. Let's just say, starts the middle of 2023, June of 2023 here. With that, would the investor still start to see returns come 2026, maybe 2027, or is it vary a little bit depending on the amount of trees you purchase?
So if someone were to invest right now, their trees will be planted come winter 2023. So okay. December 2023, January 2024.
Okay.
With that said, the first yield would be in 2027.
Okay.
Break even would be another 4 years down the line, let's say. So
2032 then.
Yep. My math might not be the best.
No, that's fine. Give or take.
Yeah. And everything after that is as profit. It is a bit of a wait for breaking even, but the return on investment when the trees do reach full maturity is very lucrative. So if we do basic math on one tree on average in full maturity, so 8+ years, can produce around 25 kilograms. Multiply that by 2.2 to get pounds of walnuts. Current market prices, if we don't calculate in inflation and everything that might be down the line,
sure,
it's around 4.5 euros per kilogram of in-shell walnuts. So it comes to around 100 plus euros per tree per year.
Okay.
So until you break even, all profits go to investors until they break even. After breaking even, there is a 50-50 split with
Okay.
with the company, with the Walnut Fund. So there is around 25 to 35% return on investment per year when trees do reach full maturity.
Okay, sounds good. And then I'm not sure what Croatia or Europe has for retirement plans. I know here in the United States we have self-direct traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401k plans. Are investors able to utilize those funds, or just the way the government contracts, et cetera, work, can you only invest like your typical bank accounts, so to speak?
Yep, we've actually had that question quite a bit recently. We've consulted with the legal team. It is 100% legal, and we are able to accept funds from, as you just mentioned.
Okay.
We're in the process of adapting the website to be able to handle those kind of investments.
Okay.
So down the line, we will be able to accept such funds.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Yep.
Now, you had mentioned earlier, I was kind of surprised about this, that the walnut trees are pretty hardy, that they can stand temperatures up to -30. But obviously we've talked about a lot of the pros or the upside of planting a walnuts, but are there any particular risks that an investor needs to worry about, in addition to nature, like any natural disasters in the area, or pests, or government regulations, just to name a few?
So, as you said, walnut trees are very sturdy, very resistant against pests, insects, infections. Although, of course, you have to take the due diligence and precautions to maintain it and keep a healthy plantation, which we do. If you'd had a look on our website, the 7-year-old plantation from our main consultant looks fantastic.
Okay.
So what are some of the biggest risks in general? For example, in Serbia, one would be late frost. That affects a lot of agriculture producers here in Serbia. The good thing with these walnut trees that we're planting, the Chandler walnut trees, is that they blossom very late. So
Okay.
it usually avoids all of these late frosts that come in, blossoms later, and we achieve full yield.
Okay.
As for pests, it's all treatable. There are 3 or 4 times per year that, depending on weather conditions, that we need to spray the trees to keep them healthy, but it's just good practice and normal upkeep of the plantation.
Okay, makes sense. So.
As for government concerns, honestly, there are very good subsidies that we can utilize from the government. The geopolitical situation is very stable, and not too much risk on that front.
Okay. Oh, good to know. All right. Well, this is actually really interesting. I've learned a number of things, and like I said, I've been following your company for about 2 years now. But as we wrap this up, for any of my listeners, maybe either are ready to invest right now, or maybe they're thinking, gosh, it sounds interesting, I'd like to learn more, or maybe have a conversation of some sorts, what's the best way to reach out to you and your team?
So if they visit our website, www.thewalnutfund.com,
okay,
they will find our contact information. They can write to us directly in the chat box. Someone is always online, so
sure.
We've covered most 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we don't get back to you, we'll answer with an email very quickly.
All right.
We've hosted investors from all around the world. So we've actually had investors from the United States come in. We've had investors from Spain, Italy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they've all come and seen the walnut trees in person, seen where the 7-year plantation is, seen where this year's plantation is. So we try and be as transparent as possible to mitigate what you commented on earlier. As we are a new company, people might be doubtful. It's the only way to reinforce a sense of a safe mindset, I guess.
Sure. No, it makes sense. And I can attest to the responsiveness, because like I said, I followed you for some time, and then I was just on the website. I sent a quick message, is like, hey, would anyone be interested, talk about the fun of my podcast? And maybe 10-15 minutes later, it wasn't very long, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, we'll get you in touch with the founder. And then they actually sent me your WhatsApp number, and then obviously here we are. So I appreciate that. And thank you for the responsiveness with your team.
No problem. It was our pleasure.
So, all right. Well, thanks again, Damien. I really enjoyed this. I learned a couple of things, and hope my investors maybe look at this for another alternative investment if they're getting a little sick of the roller coaster of the stock market.
We're welcome them with open hands. We invite them all to reach out, ask any questions that they may have, and if needed, come and visit us in person.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks again for your time, Damian, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Awesome, you too. Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to share, rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. For more updates, check out www.wealthandfreedomnexus.com. Remember, nothing on this show should be considered tax, legal, investment, or professional advice. This show is produced solely for educational and informational purposes. Please consult an appropriate and licensed tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for specific advice for your situation. For distribution or publication rights or media interviews, please contact the host.